haven't read the first one yet, I apologize for any spoilers, but it's your own fault for not being on the awesome train. You must be Vittorio Santini. You're even more handsome in person than you are on TV and in magazines. A tall, slender black woman with straight hair and heavy makeup walked towards us. She wore a black pencil skirt and shiny red sleeveless shirt, trying to blend in with the gothic crowd at the chapel, but failing miserably. I glared at the woman, who was obviously a reporter. I was surprised to see from the corner of my eye a small smile on Vittorio's lips. He hated reporters and never gave interviews, so why wasn't he already fending this one off? And how had she gotten into the VIP area? He stood and took her extended hand, kissing the back of it. This was the way he greeted all women, and it never bothered me. Not until now. Owner of the hottest Gothic nightclub in St. Louis and head of the local coven of witches, it is quite a pleasure to meet you, the woman gushed. I'm Amanda Parsons. Could I ask you a few questions? We don't speak to, I started, but Vittorio interrupted me. Of course. Shall we go into my office where it's a little quieter? Without a backward glance at me or so much as a whisper of explanation in my mind, he led Amanda Parsons to the little room that acted as an office at the back of the balcony. What the hell is wrong with him? I demanded of Emmett and Courtney, who sat in chairs facing the love seat on which I sat. He must have a reason for granting this interview. Perhaps he knows who the reporter is, Emmett said. He could have given me a little warning before ignoring me for some lazy bitch. Elena, Courtney said. Well, he could have. I crossed my arms. You're never jealous of other women, Courtney said. I don't like this one. I get a really bad vibe from her. I slouched down, which wasn't easy in a corset. 20 minutes later, Vittorio emerged from the office with a bimbo reporter, laughing. It's all right, I understand. He smoothed his collar, and only then noticed me glaring at him. He paused, walked the reporter to the stairs before sitting down next to me again. You missed a spot, I snarled. What do you mean, Vittorio asked. Lipstick, you missed a spot. If you're going to fool around practically in front of me, you might want to be a little more careful. Vittorio looked unshaken. She tried to kiss me just now. I stopped her, of course, but obviously not soon enough. I glared at him. I'm sorry, mio amore. You know there is no one for me other than you. I love you. He took my hands in his. I continued to glare. Please, let me show you, he said softly. Fine. I opened my mind to him, and he showed me Amanda's advance. Seeing it for myself that way, and feeling from his mind that it was, in fact, unwanted, I had no choice but to believe him. But why couldn't I feel your mind while you were in there? Why did you shut me out? And why did you choose to give your first interview to her? I'm sorry, mio amore, but I wanted to be sure I was as guarded as I could be, so I put my shields up completely. I should have let you know. But why her? I still didn't like that he had granted the interview so easily. I sensed latent power in her, and that she would be fair and accurate in her reporting. He stared into my eyes. I sensed it was the truth, so I gave up arguing. How did she get up here? Did you know she was coming? I did not. You know Anthony is on vacation this week. I shall have to talk with the bouncer covering for him. Anthony was the bouncer who usually policed the stairs to the VIP area. Well, she certainly did her homework well to know when it would be easiest to get to you. When can we expect the story to run, I asked. She said she would leave a message here to let me know. I hope it helps. Goddess knows we can use all the positive power, positive press we can get, as much as people hate witches right now. I sat in my office, going through my notes for Neil's court case. I wasn't convinced I needed notes. Wasn't living the horror enough? Jerry, Sergeant Gerald Lancaster, my one-time boss, had insisted it would help me prepare for being on the witness stand, and I eventually gave in. My appointment book was empty for the week, so the knock at the door was unexpected. The lawyer's on the third floor. The sign in the lobby is wrong, I called out. No matter how many times I had asked the landlord to fix the sign, he never did. With rent as cheap as mine, I couldn't expect much. Vittorio badgered me endlessly about moving into a nicer office now that I could afford it. Rather, he could afford it for me. But my tiny rundown office was familiar. I needed the small comforts when everything else in my life had been turned inside out. Ms. Ronan, if you're busy, I can come back, a nearly inaudible voice said through the door. Smoothing my skirt, I opened the door to find a girl in her early 20s. Can I help you? I'm sorry for not making an appointment, but should I come later? The girl asked, staring at the floor. No, now is good. Please, come in. I sensed if I turned her away now, she'd never return. Can I get you some coffee? Free of drugs and binge drinking and never a cigarette smoker, coffee was the one vice I had left. No, thank you, she shook her head, standing just inside the doorway. I pulled out a chair opposite mine at the desk. Please sit down. The girl sat, rolling the ends of her hair around her fingers. What's your name? I asked in my softest voice possible. Susan. Susan Boyce. Okay, Susan, what can I help you with? I still spoke softer than normal, hoping to put her at ease. My friend Mia, she killed herself about 2 months ago. She stared into her lap. I'm very sorry to hear that. I hope she hadn't heard about my experience bringing Vittorio back to life. Thankfully, that hadn't gotten out to the media yet, but I couldn't figure out why else she would be here about her dead friend. Thanks, but I don't think she killed herself. She finally looked at me, daring me to argue. If you think she was murdered, you should go to the police. I took a sip of coffee. I did, but they won't listen to me. There was a suicide note in her handwriting, and they said everything lines up. There's no evidence of murder. They won't do anything. But they don't know Mia. She was so happy. She would never kill herself. Her words rang together. Sometimes people are really good at hiding their emotions, I said, thinking of myself. Please, Miss Ronan, you have to help me. The emotional outpouring was over, and Susan stared at her lap again. What do you want me to do? Find out who killed Mia and why someone would do such an awful thing to such a good person. She looked into my eyes, breathing. A pang of regret for Susan's naivety clenched my gut, just for a moment. I need to ask you a few questions to help me determine if I can help you. First, I want to get some general information. Where do you and Mia live? Columbia, Missouri? I raised my eyebrows. That's not exactly down the street. It's only 2 hours. Why me? I asked. Why not go to a PI closer to home? Because you have power, Susan whispered. Oh boy. I felt like printing up a flyer to hand people who wanted me to use my power to track down lost pets and errant husbands. Susan, my power doesn't work like that. No, you don't understand. Mia had power too. I know how it works. She told me. A tear escaped Susan's eye. Is that why they killed her? Because she told me about her power? So you think you know who did it? Maybe that's why she was so nervous. If she thought she knew who killed her friend, she might fear for her own life as well. No, well, maybe. I mean, no one was supposed to know, right? So what if the people in her coven found out she told me and killed her because of it? That's not how we do things, Susan. We're peaceful on the whole. Sure, there are bad witches, just like there are bad people everywhere. But we don't kill people for telling secrets, especially now that it's no longer a secret. But will you help me? Her eyes shone with tears of desperation. I tried to remember if I was ever that innocent. Maybe long ago, before my mother was killed in a car accident and I found out my father was having an affair. Maybe. I'll do my best, Susan. I'll need names and contact information for everyone you can think of that Mia associated with. And Mia's last name, where she lived, worked, hung out. Susan interrupted me by handing me a piece of paper and photograph of Mia. Mia had long, straight blonde hair and was dressed in a burgundy gypsy skirt and white camisole. Her makeup-free face shone with laughter. She was pretty, and I liked her the instant I looked at the picture. That was strange, since I didn't warm to people easily, but she had a smile that would warm even the grumpiest old man's heart. It's all on there. I watch cop shows on TV. I smiled. You know it's not as easy as they make it out. Those shows are scripted. Real life doesn't always have a happy ending. I know. For the first time, I saw something other than innocence in her eyes. Resignation. She didn't think I'd be able to find Mia's murderer if she was indeed murdered. That set my resolve. You have a lot of good information here. If you think of anything you might have forgotten, please call me anytime. I'll figure this out. Don't worry. I stood and walked Susan to the door. Anyone have any questions? Having known you before I wrote this, yes.
The female character, Elena, in your book, Divided and no doubt Ravaged as well, is a strong, independent woman. She's not afraid to question a man, stand up to a man or slap a man if he gets very disrespectful, but at the same time she's not afraid to give into her emotions during a time of weakness, which I applaud that type of character and that kind of woman. It's quite a contrast to what we see in several other books, such as 50 Shades of Grey, where the woman is submissive and dominated and things of that nature. Do you write your character like that purposefully? I'm assuming that's the type of woman you are, from what I know of you.
Yes.
And is that the kind of image you want to portray to young little girls?
It is, definitely. I think it's, you know, it's good to be able to stand up for yourself and but to also, you know, show your emotions when appropriate and, you know, not hide behind a wall. I think there's too many books nowadays that have really weak, helpless female protagonists, and teenagers are like, oh, I want to be just like Bella Swan. Did I say that? But yeah, I would like to give a better role model for women to read. Brandon?
As probably the only male watcher of the Twilight series, one that goes by himself to him. Anyway, no. Belle actually got pretty tough in the last movie. I just want to throw that out there.
She did. I did read the series.
But it wasn't naturally. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, okay. Other than that, this is kind of off the book topic, but how does writing the book and doing all of this, I know that you signed up to run a 5K.
Right.
And I run those too. So how does that, is this more of a distraction, or do you find that you can balance the two?
I have been having a little trouble balancing the two. I am not at all prepared for the 5K, so I think I'll be walking it more than running a lot of it, but, you know, it's a start.
Right.
So, yeah, I do tend to put too much on myself sometimes, so that's something I need to work on. You know, I've got the day job, I write, I'm a Mary Kay consultant, I have a social life sometimes, and, you know, so
it's tough. Well, I applaud your dedication. I applaud your dedication because, I mean, you got 2 books out now, so.
Right.
I mean, something's working.
And a couple more on the way.
Good for you.
So how did preparing for this publication, how did it compare? Obviously, you were new to the first one, but did it help smooth things out? Did you make any major changes in how you approached it?
It was totally different. I gave myself a timeline rather than the last one where I just waited and edited again and again and again for, you know, 4 years. So I gave myself a timeline. I was able to afford a professional editor this time, whereas the last time I just had you know, friends who were good with grammar and everything, but weren't professionals. So I had professional story consultation and professional editing done this time around, which helped a lot. And then the cover designer, I used the same designer this time around. But it was much more organized, much more structured. And next time I think we'll be even more organized as I learn, work out the kinks along the way.
How many books do you think there will be in the series?
I originally thought that it would just be open-ended, but I'm starting to think it might just be 3, a trilogy. Planning on writing the 3rd one for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, for those of you who aren't familiar. So I need to figure that out pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it might just be a trilogy, but I'll know more after November.
I'll check.
Yeah. Donnie?
Oh, I heard the reference to St. Louis. Do you commit a lot? What are your reasons behind St. Louis? How much of the St. Louis that really exists, or do you recreate St. Louis? And what is your whole reasoning behind St. Louis?
I live in St. Louis and I'm familiar with it. I don't want to just make stuff up. I had originally had an idea that the novels would be set in Boston, but at the time I'd never been there, and I don't know enough about it to make it realistic, so I changed it to St. Louis just because I know it. I mean, it's a great city and it's got some great paranormal history behind it too. And some of it, I blend, you know, some of it is real St. Louis and some of it is like the chapel the nightclub they go to doesn't exist. It's, you know, fictional. But the areas, and the first book I mentioned, The Hill, and things like that, I do, you know, blend real St. Louis and fictional St. Louis. Any other questions?
Are you planning on doing anything like last year with the ebooks? Because last year you started out with a free download on that.
Right. I'm not doing the free download this time. To do that, you have to sign up with Amazon, their Kindle Select program, and to do that, you can't publish it anywhere else digitally. And I want to get it on Nook, because last time I had a lot of people asking me, is it on Nook? And I had to say no, so I wanted to make that available on Nook. So it is, as of today, Divided and Kindle are both on Amazon for the Kindle and for the Nook. And hopefully in the coming weeks I'll get it out on Kobo also. So I had to kind of weigh that decision of, you know, is it worth doing the free and not having, you know, having 3 months where I can't offer it to other platforms? And you know, the research I've done and reading what other authors have done and what they found, you know, who are more experienced authors, I decided it wasn't really worth it to do that again. So it's kind of, you know, a little disappointing because last time I got to see the numbers shoot up to like, you know, 500 sales or, you know, downloads in the first day, and it's not nearly that just yet. But I think in the long run it'll be a good decision, and, you know, just it's a learning experience. This isn't my full-time income yet, so I can afford to, you know, play around and see what's going to work. Well, I guess if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and do the signing. I think we're going to have it downstairs. We're going to Blueberry Hill, just down the street across after this, and we'll have drinks and appetizers, so please join us and have some fun, celebrate.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming, I really appreciate it.
Drinks and appetizers are free. Just come on by, please.
Yeah, drinks and appetizers are on the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jenny, if she wants to take it or wants us to hang on for the bar.
Okay, good.
You want to hang on to the camera then?
For now, yeah, I mean, I'll take it home tonight, but
Okay.
for now.
What do you want me to do?
I called her at like 5.
Right.
I called like 5. I work like 10 minutes from here, and it took me 45 minutes. I believe I got lost. I mean, like, I was expecting someone 40 foot. Hi, I haven't seen you guys.
I'll get mine in 5.